My mom is my best friend. Anyone who has had any sort of extended conversation with me probably already knew this, but what you may not have known is that I was a bit of an angsty teenager. And in one particularly heated debate, I put the nail in the single mom teenage daughter coffin by driving off to dad's house. And about an hour after I got there, we were driving around the boatyard next to his house, and I was explaining my side of the story when the phone rang. Yep, she's with me, she'll be back soon. And I immediately catapulted into word vomit. I'm not going, she won't listen, this made it worse, it's not happening, I'm not going. And he stopped me, and I'll never forget what he said next. He said, Jess, when you've upset someone or made them angry, the only way to stop them in their track and to end the conflict is to really say you're sorry. It was something so simple, and it was something that I thought I already knew, but I haven't forgotten it since. Sorry is a powerful word when used correctly. However, that is not always the case. I know that personally, when I am feeling vulnerable or fragile, I tend to overuse sorry when it's not necessary, while holding very strong in my conviction to not say it when it really is warranted. So today, I want to talk about those two situations and identifying them, as well as the components of an effective apology, in what I am calling sorry and not sorry, the power of intentional apologizing. The word sorry is like a comic book or a diamond ring. Its value comes from its rarity. However, as people, and particularly as women, we tend to vastly overuse the word. We use it to introduce ourselves and our ideas, to preface and justify our beliefs and our emotions, to downplay compliments as well as our accomplishments. We use it to excuse our bodies, like when we sneeze or if we have to use the bathroom. We use it as a placeholder, the way that we would say like or We use it when we think we're being polite. We use it passive-aggressively to try to get somebody else to say it. And we use it at the first sign of conflict as well as no sign of conflict. It really seems like the only thing that we do unapologetically is apologize. But these unnecessary apologies draw attention to something that A, might otherwise have gone unnoticed, but B, the more that we use them, the more value we are stripping from the word. So in order to maintain its meaning, as well as our own self-confidence, we have to be more frugal with our sorries. The best way to do this is to ask ourselves, am I really sorry or am I something else? That something could be thankful. Maybe I'm thankful that people waited for me when I was running a few minutes late. Hey, thanks for waiting. Or maybe I'm thankful that my friend listened to me vent about a really hard day. Thanks for listening, thanks for understanding. Or maybe I'm thankful that somebody caught that grammar mistake before the slide deck got sent to the client. Thanks for catching my mistake. Or maybe we're feeling forgiving. When somebody bumps into me on a crowded day at Trader Joe's, I don't have to apologize. Instead, I could say, it's all good, go ahead, after you, instead of saying sorry. Or are we simply contributing to a conversation? Rather than discredit my thoughts before I even say them, I could just say, I'd like to add, or I have an idea, rather than starting with sorry. And lastly, maybe we're just busy. I know that personally, I start a lot of text messages and emails with, sorry for not getting back to you sooner, or sorry, I was just ... But we don't have to apologize for being busy. We can simply just state the circumstances. I was out of town, I was eating a pizza, I was taking a nap, whatever it is, and then we can follow up with that, thanks for understanding, or thanks for waiting. And we also have a couple tools at our disposal to help with this apology audit. The first is a Google Chrome extension called Just Not Sorry that will actually underline when we are using sorry too much in our emails. It's pretty cool. And the next thing is each other. We can hold one another accountable and tell each other when it's okay to not be sorry. Dr. Maya Jovanovic has studied these unnecessary apologies for years, and I want to show you this clip in which A, she rocks a head-to-toe sequin pantsuit, but B, she also describes how monumental, but also how natural this change of thought can be.
We were at a restaurant, 4 of us, a work meeting, and we're waiting for number 5 to arrive. And he was late. Oh, it was glorious because I put my sociological cap on, and I thought, what will he say? How many apologies will he give? Oh, yes, the anticipation, I could barely stand it. He arrives to the restaurant, and you know what he says? He says, hey, thanks for waiting. What? And now I'm dead because I love that line, and I've never used it before. Thanks for waiting. leaving, and do you know what the rest of us said? Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. And we all just opened our menus and ordered, and life went on.
Life went on. Replacing sorry with that more direct sentence or complete thought will not completely overhaul our conversations. It will not make us seem unlikable or cold, but it will lead to higher self-confidence and more effective communication. And it will allow us to preserve the value of the word for those times when it is really needed. So who do we give that prized comic book or that diamond ring to? When do we apologize? As I learned during my angsty freakout, sorry has a healing power. So in order to use it effectively, we have to identify situations that need healing. In her book, Art of the Apology, Lauren Bloom identifies a few of these situations for us. The first is personal relationships. An apology might be needed if a relationship that we value needs healing. This could be if a relationship is going well and we do something to jeopardize that, or if there's a broken relationship that we want to mend. Next is what I'm calling relationships once removed. She describes times in which we might not value the relationship, but somebody close to us does. So this could be like your in-laws or your best friend's new boyfriend, because failing to apologize to these people might put strain on a relationship that we do actually care about. Next is to contain an escalating crisis. If we've done something that maybe puts our job or a lawsuit on the line, it's okay to apologize because it will save ourselves and other people a lot of future pain. And next is for the common good. Maybe we were a part of a group that did something to hurt our household, our company, our community, or even beyond. An apology might be necessary just for the sake of the greater good. And lastly, maybe we are just genuinely sorry. We are all humans, we mess up, and sometimes we just feel bad about it. Some emotions that go along with this and might signal that it's time for an apology are regret, guilt, or even just the desire to change our actions going forward. Now, this last situation is important because it reminds us that the relationship that might need healing could be the one that we have with ourselves, and that's okay. So this might seem super overwhelming, and you might be thinking, what if I can't remember these? What if I'm in a situation that's not on the list and I don't know how to decide if I should apologize? The best thing to do is just take a breath, stop and think before blurting out sorry at the first sign of discomfort. There is no prize for saying it immediately, and finding some white space allows us to take a second and to breathe and to assess the situation and ask ourselves some questions like, is there a relationship in jeopardy, and am I really sorry? Taking a minute for reflection will not only help us decide if an apology is necessary, but it will make for a more effective one at that. And in the words of Lauren Bloom, before you can say sorry, you have to decide what you're sorry about. Okay, so now we know when to apologize, but it's equally as important to know how to apologize. An effective apology acknowledges the past and plans for the future. Step 1, say you're sorry. Now this seems really obvious, but it's super important, and Bloom tells us to be direct, be honest, and not to get too fancy with it. Step 2, identify the action and the feeling. I'm sorry that I did X and it made you feel Y. The more specific that we can be here, the less it will seem like we are apologizing out of obligation. And this will be when that self-reflection I talked about before really comes into play. Step 3, admit that you were wrong. Take responsibility without hedging any of the blame. It's okay to describe the circumstances surrounding the conversation and the situation as long as it doesn't sound like an excuse. And we have to be especially careful not to blame the person to whom we are apologizing. That's important. Step 4, state how you're going to make it better. This could be something tangible like replacing something that we took, or increasing the quality of a late deliverable, or sending flowers to a friend if we missed a performance. But it can also be something as simple as promising not to do that action again. Like I said earlier, sorry loses its value the more that we say it, and this is especially true if we are saying it over and over again for the same action. And lastly, step 5, ask for forgiveness. This is a tough one, and it might feel really awkward, but Megan Caston, who came to talk to us from Marriage 365, says that it is super important because a lack of forgiveness will lead to resentment, and if there's resentment, we can never move past the conflict. So if it's sounding really awkward, or if you're a little bit unsure about how to do this at first, you can totally modify it and say something like, are we good? Can we move past this? Do you want to hug it out? Anything that will signal to you that the conflict has ended. So while these steps serve as a guide, it's important to remember that sorry's purpose is to truly heal. And in order to do that, it has to be sincere. So iterate on this and personalize it and really make it your own so that it both sounds and feels sincere, because that is where the true healing will lie. So like any behavioral change, this intentional apologizing is not a switch that we can just turn on very quickly. Just this past weekend, with this topic front and center in my mind, I was at Whole Foods and a man almost bumped into me with his cart, and I said sorry. But I walked away from the situation aware of what had happened and with a mental note of how to approach it differently next time. Awareness is our friend here. If we can become more aware of our apology impulses, convictions, and methods, we can start the journey toward intentional apologies. And we can really experience the value of the most healing word in our vocabulary. So years later, I am standing here and I cannot tell you what started that argument with my mom, but I can tell you what ended it.